What's up, y'all? This is Weekly Wallet Wagers. We are back after a couple weeks sabbatical now, Banker. How long has it been? I'm with the Banker, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Our co-host on Weekly Wallet Wagers, Jonathan.
About 2 weeks, but we're back, making episodes, doing exciting stuff, so, yeah.
You're quiet over there tonight, Banker. Did your mom just die, or did you lose a puppy, or... It's going to be a really bad joke if either one of those things are true.
No, man.
Okay, good.
It's being a little wonky.
Yeah. Well, hey, John, we appreciate you being here with us tonight. As y'all who regularly listen to the show know, John and I are on opposite sides of the United States, but we and everybody comes together for this show, and we love doing this. So, Banker, on the agenda for tonight, we have a couple things in front of us. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is, we keep hearing things about COVID, and I hate to be one of those people that always wants to bring up COVID. I think the media has done far too much of that over the last, since December of 2019. However, one of the things, at least that kind of comes over into our world with that, I know that we have had some time for our economy to adapt and adjust since COVID. People are getting back to work. Then again, I know there's some scares in the news about some new strain. I'm not even going to entertain that because I don't care and I think it's all silly. But what I do want to talk about is our financial setting. I know that we work in different industries, and so you see different things, but you also represent a different geographical area. And so with businesses opening back up, and now that people are not as scared and are more normalized to COVID, let's dive into that and how our economy has changed. Because I know there's a lot of things that will never be the same, but it's also not just basic things like cruises and movies. People are changing how they do business all the way around, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these companies are realizing they don't need office buildings anymore. And, people are working from home. Everybody's working from home, and that's a crazy thing to see, and for people like me who like going to the office, we kind of miss it a little bit, but yeah, it's changing the course.
Hang on, Banker. I want to touch on something you just said. So you just mentioned a lot more people are working from home. This kind of spurs into one of the points we have on our lineup tonight. I guess I should back up here. How many people are working from home? Because everywhere I go, everything I see, there is a hiring shortage. In every industry, every business you go to is hiring. And it's to the point where it's actually affecting industries and the timing that people can come through on contracts and all kinds of stuff in day-to-day life with every industry, every country. I mean, this is not just in Colorado or Raleigh. This is everywhere, right?
Yeah, it's all over the place. I consider it the economic pandemic. I think the separation of duties that we've got going on. One major thing I think that we're seeing a lot though is with these regulations or COVID regulations popping back up. Companies, it doesn't seem like they're laying off people anymore. They're keeping them, but they're like, it's weird to put.
That's a good point, though. That's one of the things, John, about COVID that I had completely actually forgotten at this point. Was remember all those people getting laid off and businesses being shut down? Because, I mean, since then, nobody can get enough help, And so it's weird to see how in such a short time our economies can go from one extreme to the other.
Yeah, and the craziest thing, in my opinion, I mean, outside of that is just, a year ago, there were no jobs. People were getting fired left and right, living off of unemployment. But nowadays, in Denver especially, we literally can't hire enough people.
Wow.
We can't hire enough people.
So, John, on last season of the Will's World podcast series, you're on this show that we do called The Way We See It, And we did episode 3 where Luke Smith and I flew out to see you in Denver, Colorado, and we've told a bunch of stories on all of our shows about the stuff we did out there. But when we were out on that trip shooting that podcast episode, it was Lime or Lyft or those different scooter brands. Remember we rented and we rode around in downtown, and there were homeless people and unemployment just everywhere in Colorado. Now, to be fair, what was the date of that? That's been pushing a year ago now, maybe.
A year ago. I was
beginning of this year, right? In this spring.
I think it was around. It was like March. I think.
Yeah, I was thinking February, March. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's call it March. So, since you're still there, I mean, do we still have the same amount of homelessness and unemployment that we do in Denver, or has that changed and has that shifted? I mean, as a resident who's lived through this on the West Coast side of the economic and COVID revolution, how much has that affected homelessness and poverty overall, or do you still see the same numbers, and are businesses still struggling for people that could be filling their employee positions?
See, I can see, I don't know exact statistics, but from my experience, there's just as many homeless people, if not more. But the problem is businesses are still having trouble hiring. You would think with all the homeless people out there, they'd be willing to work, get jobs so they can get a house and make money and everything.
No, thank you for sharing that, though. I mean, these are topics for conversation that we have, but it's important that we talk about it, and I'm glad we are, because we can never predict our we've heard that the economy is supposed to go up and come down every 7 years, and we defied that, and then all the experts thought that something like Donald Trump couldn't become president, and then that happened, whether you like it or not, and then there were so many things. The market just kept going up and up and up the next 4 years, and everybody kept saying it was going to crash. And then we had COVID, which people didn't foresee. And then there are things that we deal with on a month-to-month basis in this economy as a result of COVID and other things that are shifting. And so what we've learned is you can't always listen to the experts in the history books and the economists, because they're wrong more often than weathermen are. I mean, that's scary to think about. So which is why we love assessing this and talking about it on a week-to-week basis, because it's ever changing and there's so much to keep up with. So moving on, John, one of the things, as we were talking about businesses and hiring, I wanted to just refer an article. I know we sometimes give endorsements or cite sources on this show. I was watching Bloomberg Financial Market News earlier today, and they did this piece that was on, actually this subject, COVID and businesses in a post-COVID world. They chose to showcase the restaurant and food and beverage industry, because I think, as you mentioned earlier, when this started happening, this was one of the biggest industries that got laid off and shut down. And they're specifically they were focusing on breweries and microbrew small beer companies. I know that's a big business out there in the state of Colorado. I know it's huge here in North Carolina as well, which is why I just thought it was interesting. We'll post this link along with our show for you guys to watch this. But they were showing just how these people how for very, very little cost, these beer enthusiasts can actually create and make beer. But the problem is, where they're losing money or where they can't grow, is the distribution cost. Because again, it's so hard to get people to work right now, and for like trucking and qualified people that can drive commercial vehicles, there's less of those. There's so much demand for vehicles right now that there's even less, commercial trucks on the road that you can buy, and the ones you can get cost more. And so the little guys, like the little restaurants and the little microbreweries, the cost for delivery and transit for mass food and beverage distribution is, 2 or 3 times what it used to be. And so now, as people recover from this and begin to build businesses back, it makes it a lot harder to get back in the game, which is what used to make America so great, is that everybody had the same opportunity. I don't know. That's a lot of thoughts. You can weigh in there, John.
I think that was a sneak peek for anybody watching the show, that there are certain industries that are hiring more than not. So if you need a job, maybe look into trucking.
Yeah, I'm not even in trucking. This is just I mean, we're talking about the Bloomberg article here, and it was a great one, which is why I'm talking about it. Also, in the same news I was watching, this was on Bloomberg's YouTube. They were talking about how DoorDash and Uber Eats are actually like just food orders with them specifically are higher than any like restaurant food orders have ever been like in the history of modern day society and technology, which I thought was huge, which shows one, a couple things. We are bouncing back and people are able to spend money. Two, John, it backs up what you said about how people are staying at home more. They're not going out to restaurants. They want food to come to them, which means that things are shifting. And then three, the third thing I heard from that, thanks Bloomberg, guys, if you're looking for a job, I'm seeing commercials on TV now and on YouTube and here on the radio for DoorDash and Uber Eats. And it's not for you to be a customer, it's for you to drive for them. There you go, John. We were just talking about the banker moving out to the Eastern Seaboard to start up business out here. John, you were wanting to do a road trip all the way out to North Carolina, but also be economical. You could sign up with DoorDash. I can send you this Bloomberg link right here, and you could DoorDash away and deliver Chick-fil-A and McDonald's all the way here.
It'll be part of an adventure. We'll make it a whole series. Me DoorDashing to different households across the different states.
Yeah, I'm sure we could like set up cameras and mic you the whole time, and you can go interview people and ask them questions. I'm sure like a slim, like 3% of those are going to be nut job crazy people. It would make a good like after dark bit that we could do. But then also you could ask people retirement and tax questions, and yeah, it could be a whole series.
Yeah, it'd be ask them if they have an IRA, and if so, how much do they contribute each year? Things like that.
Yeah, you sound really excited about this plan so far.
Excited about North Carolina, not so excited about DoorDashing from hotel rooms in the middle of Kentucky.
I hear you. I don't blame you. I'm certainly not giving that as real financial advice. So John, I know you had some other stuff. I've taken up a lot of time so far. I'm gonna turn this over to you, but we appreciate you being here, and I would love to hear what you have for us.
Yeah. Kind of going back to earlier what Will mentioned with businesses and everything, and one thing that I've noticed, I spoke with some individuals about it too, was things about unemployment, making more money off of unemployment than you do working in an actual job. And sure, it's great having that time free and available while making just as much. But at the same time, I think one of the beautiful things about America is how hard we work. And I think, since the beginning of COVID, there's been an insane number of startups. As he mentioned with brewery, especially microbreweries, there's so many companies that are just doing startups. And I just kind of wanted to touch base on the importance of staying dedicated to your goals.
Yeah, I appreciate that, John. And I appreciate you also noting that that affected a lot of businesses, that it was Restaurant Brew, but it wasn't just them. I chose to bring that one specific one up just because, who doesn't love beer, right? But, this problem spawned far broader than just the restaurant and beverage industry, so.
Yeah, and, it's all over the place, and people might be discouraged with, like, regulations and things popping back up, but I definitely think that they should stay motivated. Today, I climbed a 13,000-foot mountain, literally about an hour and a half before this call.
Where were you at up there in the Rockies?
So it's kind of close to Denver. Argentine Mountain.
Anywhere in Colorado, people are like, it's kind of close to Denver.
Well, it's about maybe an hour total from my apartment.
Okay.
So it's not too far. It's an hour to Colorado Springs for me. It's an hour to the mountains west of me, and then it's about an hour and a half up north to Fort Collins. So everything in Colorado when you get to that front range, it's pretty quick to get to somewhere.
I get it. Y'all have amazing geography out there, and it's so much quicker getting places because everything's just wide open and flat, or There's so many things y'all have done better when it comes to civil engineering and infrastructure out there than we have here. And y'all have more people there, and it's overflowing still. But even with the lesser people we have, we can't. And more years doing it, we haven't been able to get it right.
Well, I don't know about that. I-25 is pretty awful for anybody that lives out here. It's definitely a pain getting anywhere from Denver. So if I were to go from rush hour from my house or my apartment to my brother's apartment up north on the other side of Denver, you would think that it's such a small amount of space. You would think that it'd be like maybe 30 minutes, and it is at night when there's no traffic. During the day, when there is traffic, it's an hour and a half. It literally triples over the time.
Triples, yeah. Jeez. You know? I guess there's places like that everywhere, though. Y'all are in a popular place. But no, yeah, so you were talking about that, yet you were saying, I didn't mean to diverse from the mountain story. Y'all were 13,000 feet up. You texted me that earlier today, John, and my first thought was, like, when I was in flight school, like, we were on, like, if you were above 10,000 feet, you had to have oxygen, I thought. Because, like, was it, like, oxygen is too thin above 10,000? So, like, were y'all on scuba tanks? Were y'all fine? I mean, how was that?
No, we were fine. We were just walking. I mean, in fact, like, our hike started at around, I want to say that we started at about 9,000. I mean, it sucked breathing. It was definitely difficult. It was so hard.
Was it hot up there? Because so guys, we're filming this show right now in the middle of August. We're dead middle. It's like August 15th today, right? Yeah, we're smack dab in the center of August. It's a hot freaking time. So when you go up that high, like, you know, it's usually a lot colder in the wintertime and hotter in the summer, right?
So, believe it or not, it was absolutely, it was so cold while we were going up that mountain. It was crazy. Most of it came from wind, but it was so bad. Like, you got to think, it's August 15th. There was still snow on that mountain. You know, like, it was cold.
Really?
Yeah, it was freezing.
I figured it'd be the opposite. I figured it'd be just terribly hot. Wait, so, like, it's like 101 degrees here today. You know, hot as can be. You know, sweating to death, dying out here. But you have snow where you're at?
So only in the mountains. Like, once you get to a certain elevation, you know, you get that tree line, which is like 11,000 feet or something like that. Anything past that is tundra. That tundra part is so cold. So cold.
How cold does Black Hawk get in the fall?
I don't know. I've only been there once.
Well, since we're talking about money on this show right now, when I get some off time again in the fall after my industry where I work is out of their season, we are going. I'm going to fly back out there to Denver, if anything, just to gamble, and we're going to go to Black Hawk again. Now that I've learned to play blackjack, and we're going to go to the tables and see how that goes. You can cash in that receipt finally too. From DraftKings.
Yeah, well, I've actually got 3 of them. I've got 2 from the UFC games.
Did you pick up gambling again? Do we need to take you to a gambler? Is this a thing now, Joe?
No, I did not pick up gambling. I will go with you though. You know,
it'll be fun.
A friend come with too.
We can go do our research. We can go bet on some games, drink some drinks on the house, and go play some low stakes blackjack.
There we go. I'd be down for that.
Yeah, so, yeah, we'll make that happen. To make trips like that happen, though, you know, John and I talk about traveling and doing fun stuff, but in all seriousness, if you work all the time and focus on money, it's no good if you don't spend it, which is why you need to have one of my favorite words, which actually leads us into our next segment, John, as we wrap up here on this week's book ideas. That word I was going to tell you got to have, guys, is goals, G-O-A-L-S. If y'all are on the YouTube version of this right now, hold on, I'm disappearing here. You can see, John, I've got my book with me. I've read this several times. It's called Goals by Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy, y'all may know of him. He's a renowned winning author. He's been around for a long time, writes a bunch of sales, self-motivational, and success books. And he has done a phenomenal job. Well, he has a ton of books he has done. This particular one, Goals. It's a great read. It's an easy read for any reading level, and it kind of goes over everything you need to do to one. He talks about writing out your goals and how successful people have them and what they do to achieve them, and basic fundamental steps of how to plan your day, how to plan your life, and how to think like a winner to achieve that. So it was a phenomenal read for me. Have you read this, John?
I have not, but we're gonna get going on that one.
Yeah, it's just curious. A lot of people in sales, it's a popular book there. But other one we have on the list this week, if you're familiar with Stephen Covey, who's another big famous author, he does a bunch of sales and self-help and, again, motivational series books. This is one they've done movies about, which has been around for a long time. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's in my hand right now, if it's not glitching out of the green screen. Yeah.
You gotta put it like on your chest, like on your body.
There we go.
There you go. There you go, Chief.
He was on the podcast. It's not going to make any sense to us. Why y'all got to watch this on YouTube here. Great book. And then by the same author, this one's a little more worn out because I've actually, if it's here, I got to put it on my chest like Banker said. It's kind of bent up, but if I can flatten it out, because I've actually read this so many times, it is Stephen Covey, the same author's First Things First. This is actually one of the first, I think, books I ever read when I got into the financial industry, when I got my insurance license and begun in sales and went down that whole path, which is what started all of this. So I've always kept this book close. It was front and center on my shelf and knew we hadn't talked about it yet on the show and wanted to recommend it. And guys, hit me up if you've read it or if you're familiar with any of these authors. It's a small world. I'd love to hear from you and would love to know what you think as well. So, Baker, you got anything else for us tonight?
No, that should be about it. I would recommend reading both of those, all three of those books. Brian Tracy's Goals, I have heard of that one before. In fact, I've actually looked into that one as well, and it looks like a really good book. I just kind of wanted to touch a little bit or touch base on, the importance of setting goals and, dreams are important, so, keep those in the back of your mind. Sure, things get a little tough, especially during COVID with like job loss and restrictions by the government and things like that. But, there's always opportunity in things like that. There's always the ability to take advantage of that situation. So.
Yeah, very true. Thank you, John. Well put. By the way, guys, I didn't say it a minute ago. Before the show, John and I were arguing with the studio lawyers about this. They said that we couldn't give it away because it was a conflict of interest with the publishing company and all. But I have to put this back to my chest. We were talking about it. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a 391-page book. But just to give you tips, again, certainly get the book. Appreciate you recommending it, John. But just to give you a sneak peek at what they are, we said there's 7 habits of highly effective. Getting tongue-tied. This is why this is the end of the show, John. We just get to a certain point and we're no good. Guys, those 7 habits are being goal-oriented, result-driven, action-oriented, people-oriented, health-conscientious, honest, and self-disciplined. Those are the 7 habits of highly effective people. If y'all didn't take anything else away from the show tonight, go write those 7 things down. And if you don't remember them, guys, replay this episode. You'll love it twice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in other words, go to the gym.
Go to the gym.
Don't eat cookies.
We could go on all night with this. Y'all, I am Will, and he is...
The Banker, Jonathan.
The Banker, and always humble. Y'all, this has been another Weekly Wild Wagers. Check us out on willsworldchannel.com or on YouTube by looking us up. Or hit Jonathan or I up on social media. John, you're just on Instagram like a weirdo, right? You don't have a Facebook or anything?
You could add me on Snapchat. I do have a Facebook. I have Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat.
Good. All right. Yeah, guys, I'm Will Marsh. Look me up, add me. You can find us on Facebook too at Weekly Wallet Wagers or The Way We See It. And we'll see you later.
Peace.